Come in. Well, come on in.
Good morning, sir. I'm George Washington Carver.
Well, what can I do for you, George?
I'm a new student, sir.
There must be some mistake.
But this is the day. Your letter.
What letter?
Here. I have it here. You said, here it is, sir, September 15th.
Let me see that. There is a mistake. We don't take your kind here. Young man, you didn't say in your application you were colored.
I answered all the questions. I didn't think that...
I do regret this, young man. But we have no room for black students. None ever applied before. You better get going.
Stories of Great Christians. From the Department of Broadcasting of the Moody Bible Institute, we are bringing you Chapter 8 of God's Ebony Scientist, the story of George Washington Carver. When you got the letter accepting you into the freshman class at Highland University, Professor Carver, how did you feel?
Like a spring robin with a worm. I sold out my laundry business, gave up my restaurant job there in Minneapolis, Kansas, said goodbye to Aunt Lucy Seymour, and struck out.
Now, Professor, do you want to remember what happened when you got to that university? In the president's office?
For years, I tried to forget. That man looked at me and said, I don't want to think what he said.
What he meant was you couldn't stay.
Yes. And I turned around and walked out of that office and down the steps and away from the college. Something inside of me, it was my dream, died. And furthermore, I had spent all my money on train fare. Afternoon, sir.
Well, boy?
I was wondering, do you need any extra hired hands?
All depends. You don't look very strong, boy.
Oh, but I am, sir. I can do a good day's work.
What we want here is a good week's work, good month's work, better still, a good year's work. We don't want any wandering help.
No, sir, I...
Come in, boy. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
What's your name?
George Washington Carver, sir.
Mine's Beeler. You don't come from around here.
No, Mr. Beeler.
Where's your home?
Kansas.
Kansas is a big place. Where in Kansas?
Minneapolis.
That's a city.
Yes, sir.
How come you're looking for farm work?
I do farm work.
You learned it in a city, huh? Carver, I don't think we can use...
No, sir. I learned farm work on a farm.
Where?
Diamond Grove.
Diamond Grove?
Missouri.
Missouri, you said?
I traveled some.
Give you slaves your head and you go like a racehorse, don't you?
Yes, sir. If that's what you say, sir.
All right, George, Kansas, Missouri. Now, what brings you to Highland? Well?
I came to see someone.
And?
And what, sir?
All right, George, you aren't telling why you came to Highland. I just hope your hands are clean.
What do you mean, Mr. Beeler?
I mean, Frank Beeler doesn't hire help that just murdered their grandpappy or robbed the general store.
Oh, no, sir.
Well, George Washington, there's room for your jacket in the shed. Then come back in here. I got plenty of work for you. George, you're the fastest milker I got.
Thanks, Mr. Beeler, thanks.
Take the evening off. Go in town, see something for yourself.
Oh, I guess not.
Suit yourself. That boy's been here 2 months. My best worker. But it beats all. I don't know any more about him than I did the day he walked in here. Why he's in town, how long he'll stay, what kind of trouble he's seen. Maybe if he went down to the church some.
That's your boy playing, Mr. Beeler?
Uh-huh. He's making this the liveliest church social we ever had. Never sang like this before.
Lively for us, anyhow.
What do you mean?
Well, that boy just sits and plays with that mournful look on his face, like he wishes he weren't here. Who is he, Mr. Beeler?
Wish I knew.
There's something bothering that boy. But it doesn't do his music any harm.
Oh, glad you could come to service, my boy.
Thank you, preacher.
That tenor voice of yours, my. That's the way God's praise should ring out every Sunday. You come back now and glorify the Lord with us again, son.
Uh-huh.
And if you got troubles, remember, he's waiting to ease the burden.
George, sit close to the fire and warm yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Beeler. It's a mighty cold night.
George, I called you into the parlor tonight to talk to you about something.
I figured so.
Something big.
Yes, sir.
Blast you, George. Can't you show enthusiasm or appreciation for anything?
I'm sorry, Mr. Beeler.
I'm sorry, George. Listen, I like you. You got a brain in that head. I don't care what color it is. It's a brain.
Thank you, sir.
A brain for making music and working hard and adding figures, and a brain for business.
I never tried my head at business.
George, I'm moving out to the prairie.
The prairie?
Western Kansas, the great American prairie. Ever seen it?
Yes, sir, I have.
George, I want to let you in on something good. Because I like you. Do you know our government gives away prairie land for the asking?
It does?
Just for the asking. Claim it, build on it, cultivate it, stay for a while, and it's yours.
White and black alike?
George, on the prairie, they don't figure a man by his color. Yeah, white and black alike. Well?
You're moving out there, and you're asking me to go along with you?
I'm not asking anything of the sort. I'm offering you a big chance.
You think I could get some Kansas land?
Why be a hired hand all your life? Trouble with you, George, you don't dream big enough.
Sir,
You gotta reach high, George. Dream big. Reach high and be practical about it.
Suppose I took some land. How long do you have to stay on it to own it?
3, 5 years. George, do you good to settle down.
Uh-huh.
Put roots down. Get contented. Don't be always roaming. You're 20 now, a man. If you get out there on a farm of your own, you'll never leave.
Maybe.
Best thing that ever happened to you. Well, what do you say?
Say?
You gonna head out Kansas way with me? Let me find you some acres?
Yes, I guess I might as well. Well, there's something about Highland that I don't want to stay around anyway.
Well, thanks.
Sir?
Thanks for being the most unenthusiastic cuss I ever met up with. And never mind, it's your way. But listen, George, I'm going to see you get yourself a dream, something to reach for. And there's nothing better for that than some Kansas land and a side house of your own.
Why, look there at George Carver's house. Elmer, why can't you cut sod bricks as true as that?
Hey,
Hey, Carver, you going fancy? Never heard of a whitewashed house on the prairie. Ain't you the clever one?
Yes, he does. Emma Bell saw it and told Ida, and she told me. George Washington Carver has flowers growing right out of his soddy roof. A garden on his roof.
George, you got the best side house in Kansas. Everybody's talking about it.
Thank you, Mr. Beeler. I guess they like my flowers blooming in the snow.
The ladies sure do.
And the ladies like my pillowcases, see?
Yeah, very fancy.
Made out of nothing but Bolton cloth. I painted on the wild roses myself.
The fancy stuff is fine, George, but this is the toughest house in the whole region, besides.
I liked building it.
George, you're not sorry you came out and claimed this land.
Well, I'm getting to love the prairie, Mr. Beeler.
You're different from what you was.
Emma? It's the land, I guess. Say, did you ever see how it's kind of shaped like a dome out here?
No. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that dome-shaped part means that there's treasure underneath.
Gold?
Maybe gold, but I think better than that. Oil.
That black, smelly stuff.
Treasure, Mr. Beeler. Wait and see.
Well, George, I'm glad you're happier. See, I was right. A man can settle down out here, make his dreams come true. A house, security, that's all he needs. Right, George?
A man could settle here and be happy, Mr. Beeler. That's what you said.
George, it's what I believe.
Some men, maybe. Not me.
Not you. You are settled.
With my fancy pillowcases and my garden on the roof and my crops, sure. But not with my dreams.
Your dreams, George?
I got a dream, Mr. Beeler, and it won't stay put out here.
George, I'm glad to hear it.
I thought you'd be disappointed.
I'm glad to hear you got a dream, a goal. I didn't think you did.
Hell, I didn't for a while, or else I lost it.
As long as it's practical. Dreams have to be practical, too. What is his dream, George?
Mr. Beeler, a long time ago,
Well, what about a long time ago?
Never mind. That was a long time ago. My dream, well, I love the earth. Oh, I want to live tending it and making things grow. But out here on the prairie, everything, storm, snow, sun, well, they're against you.
So?
Mr. Beeler, I want a greenhouse of my own in a climate where things grow easy. That's my dream.
Well, that's sound, practical. Where?
Iowa, I think.
It is milder over there.
I'll get rid of this property here, or mortgage it, and move as soon as I can.
George, I'd say that's a worthwhile dream.
I used to have a bigger one, of helping people, black people. But that dream's gone. I figure if I could make a living at what I like to do, that's big enough dream for me, for my kind.
George, you're a sensible fella. Down to earth.
Maybe that's right where he wants me.
Who wants you, George?
God, Mr. Beeler. God.
And so we conclude Chapter 8 of God's Ebony Scientist, the story of George Washington Carver. Stories of Great Christians is produced by the Department of Broadcasting of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.